Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Dear Mom, I'm Gay podcast. This week we have an amazing guest. I'm so excited to introduce them to you. We have Hollynn St.Clair. Say hello, Hollynn.
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
I'm so excited to be here.
We are so excited to have you. Hollynn is an amazing actress. She lives in the Chicago area. I actually met her last year. We did the Pride monologues in Chicago, and Hollynn was part of our cast for that. And she was such a light and such a joy. And when I was thinking of people to interview for this, she was top of my list. I was like, the whole world needs to fall in love with Hollynn, and if I can help in that way, then we need to make that happen.
Oh, thank you. I
Yeah.
had just the best time, like, on the Pride monologues and meeting you. I'm glad that we stayed in touch, and I'm really excited to be here, so thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. Are you still acting? Are you still in the Chicago area?
I am still acting. Currently just getting done with a lot of film work because I also work for a lot of film production, PA, art assistant, things like that. So slowly kind of moving my way through that universe, but
Nice.
also getting some more footage together for my reel, doing some little short films and trying to get footage together and submit to agents. So
That's amazing.
really just, living the life, doing the audition, the audition track, 'tis the season, getting my acting on.
Are you enjoying film?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a way different pace than theater is. But I love kind of like how in new works you're always revising and kind of getting new things thrown at you in the theater world. With film, sometimes you walk on set and the whole script has changed. Congratulations, you need to adapt, adjust, just like that. So I think that part is really, really exciting. And it's really fun to be able to also see how much is faked on set. Like I just worked as an artistic assistant on a photo shoot, and we created this fake campsite. So I don't know. It's kind of working the two different parts of my brain and what I like to do. I like to kind of put things together and design behind the scenes, but I really love being in front, and I love being the center of attention.
That's not shocking. Yeah, I'm the same way. As I've gotten older, though, I've found that I'm happier more behind the scenes. I still like to be on stage, like I'm not afraid to be on stage, but for my anxiety and just everything, I'm happier to take a little bit more of a backseat role and not always have to be in the front, which I never thought in a million years that that would be the case. Because when I was younger, I was like, put me on a stage. Um,
Put
but
me in, coach.
yeah, but as I've gotten older, I've enjoyed the creative side of it too, and I've enjoyed watching other people shine through something you create, which is really
Hmm.
cool to watch a song that you wrote come to life and see what other people can do with it. Um,
Yeah.
so that's been a cool experience for me.
I found that like acting, I love acting. I love it. It's so inventive and creative and in the moment. But I have found, especially in the post-COVID world, that I really enjoy slowing down a little bit and having that quieter time where I can check out for a minute instead of constantly being on.
Yes,
So I feel like that's a little bit more sustainable for me, is finding a good mix.
I 100% agree. All right, so we're going to dive in a little bit. We're going to start with a game. Most people would call it 20 questions, but this is a podcast and I don't want it to be 4 hours long. So we're
Okay.
playing 10 questions. How this works for the listener, I sent Hollynn a bunch of questions and I said I might ask any of these, but I didn't tell her which ones I was going to pick. So she doesn't know. She kind of knows what's on the list, but she doesn't know which ones that I picked. So we're starting simple. You ready? All right, what's your
Oh, I'm
favorite?
I'm ready.
Oh, she's ready. What's your favorite color?
I love the color indigo, like
Oh,
specifically indigo.
good choice.
Maybe close second, like a sunset orange.
Oh, that's wonderful. Question number two. You ready? What was your
Yes.
favorite childhood toy?
Oh, stuffed animals.
Stuffed
Like,
animals.
hands
Yeah.
down, I'm such a horse girl. Like, I like
Oh,
to call myself a horse woman.
I love
Um,
that.
but I love soft things and stuffed animals, and always wanted to have my critters with me. So,
I love that. I live in the country, and there's this farm by me. And on Friday nights in the summer, they do team penning. Do you know what that is? It's like
is
where they
is
like
that like with pigs?
no, well they might do it with pigs. Where I do it, they do it with cows. And basically, like you're on a horse with a team, and then you have to get the cows in this little pen. It doesn't hurt any animals, but they just have to like corral the cattle in a certain way to get them into the pen. And it's very interesting, but I like it because I like to go sit, and I sit in the back. I have my own spot, and then all the horses are right behind me, and they just kind of come and put their head on you because you're higher up in the bleachers, and then I'm just surrounded by horses, and I'm like the happiest that I could ever be.
Love that.
Yes, I also love horses. So when you said that, I was like, oh, horses are that's my dream one day, is to own my own horse. That is
Yeah,
on my
right?
bucket list. Yes. I also know that I won't take care of a horse other than ride it and feed it. So all the icky stuff my partner will have to do. So I have to make sure they're on board. All right, next question. What do you find most attractive in a person?
Ooh. I love it when someone is independent. Independent, can do their own thing. For example, my partner, we did long distance for a while, so we kind
Hmm.
of had to do the independent thing, but also she'll text me and be like, "Hey, I'm going to go to this concert." And I'm like, "Great, have fun."
Yes.
Like, I not that I don't want to go to a concert with my partner, but it's so nice to for her to be like, "Hey, I'm taking myself out to dinner," and me to be like, "Great, have the best time." And then also for me to be like, "Hey, I'm going on this trip, like weekend trip by myself." "Okay, cool, have fun, see you later." Like,
Yes.
tell me all about it when you get back. Love doing things together, but we're both such individuals. I think that that's the best part about someone is what makes them themselves.
Absolutely. I agree with that completely. All right, next one. This one's also kind of tricky. What three words best describe you?
Oh God, three words.
Three
Okay.
words.
Um. Mm, I'm trying to think. Oh goodness, the listeners are just like waiting with bated breath.
It's okay.
Um, I feel like I know. Oh God, that's two words. Like observant, I think is one. I think
Nice.
I'm pretty observant and detail oriented in that way. What else? I think I'm outgoing.
Good.
I'm, and I think that I'm also, I want to say fiery. I like fiery as an adjective.
That is a good adjective for yes, you. As someone that has spent time with you, I would say that that is true, but it's in a good way. You know how some people can be fiery in an obnoxious way? You're fiery in like all the positive ways.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to be determined, you know? Like, I
Yeah.
feel like that kind of goes with fiery is like determined and a go getter. Like, let's go, let's do it.
I love that. I think that you're correct. That describes you very well. All right, next one. If your life was a musical, because this is about my life being a musical, if your life was a musical, what would it be called?
What would it be called? Mm. My first thought was like Into the Forest, but that's just a ripoff. Um, ooh, I want to call it Dare to Dream.
Oh, that's good. I love that.
That's what
Dare
I
to
always wanted
dream.
to name my horse growing up.
See? Name your musical after your imaginary horse. I think this is
Sidebar, I think
perfect.
that's also a One Direction book thing.
Th-
I was a
It's
One Direction gal before I realized I wasn't straight.
I love that. You know,
So,
you can be gay and still love One Direction, okay? It's fine. You can still have a crush on them regardless, right? Next question. What was the last show you binge watched?
Severance.
Oh, I haven't heard of this.
Apple
What is
TV.
Severance?
Oh my god, it's so scary and kind of, not kind of, definitely messed up. So, Severance, these employees will voluntarily get a chip implanted in their brain so that when they go to work, as soon as they like go down the elevator into their work floor, they do not have any recollection of who they are or who they're with or what their life is about outside of that place.
Crazy.
So their memories are spatially dictated. So it's like they the day is ending for them, they walk into the elevator, and then for their work selves, they call them their innies, like innies and outies, like belly
Hell, of course.
buttons. For their innie, the elevator just dings right back open and they're back at work, but in a different outfit. They don't remember sleeping. They don't remember doing anything outside of work.
That's crazy.
But then when they're outside of work, they don't remember anything that they do inside of work.
Wow. What
Um,
is this on? I might need to watch this.
it's on Apple TV.
Okay.
I recently got an Apple product gifted to me, so I got like 3 months free as a trial, but
I will
yeah.
add it to my list. That's on there because I love to like binge watch things. So this is just a question more for my own personal research than anything else. This next question, the next two are my two favorite questions on this list. Okay.
Okay.
If you had a time machine, would you go to the future or the past?
Ooh. Ooh. Um, mm. I part of me wants to say the future because I am a very like big control freak, wants to know what happens.
Same.
Um, but I think I would like to go to the past and just for a day experience the wilderness as the wilderness before it
Yes.
was touched. I think that like obviously like I'd probably get eaten by a bear
Same.
or killed by something, but I think that would be really really interesting to see like even just the United States before invasive plants and species were here and before people just took it over and
Yeah.
industrialized everything.
I watched a documentary on what New York City looked like before it was New York City, and that made me very
Yeah.
curious about if there was nothing there.
Yeah,
And I
right?
know that what we call Broadway it started out as like Native Americans. That was the only path through the island. And that's
Yes.
now the road that we call Broadway. It was just made, that was their path that they went up and down to get through. So I just think it would
Yes.
be interesting to see that untouched land that we know so differently. Like, what was it like? I don't know what year that would have been, but what was it like back then?
Even back in like the 1500s, right?
Yeah.
Like not probably not 1500s, 14, 1300s before people just like white people just started colonizing over here.
Yes.
What was it like to stand in Times Square? Like what is now Times Square? How different.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that.
This next one, I love this one because we tend to only focus on the negative things that we do to each other as humans. What's the nicest thing a stranger has done for you?
Huh. The nicest thing that a stranger has done for me. Oh, I was on the train and this guy was bothering me late at night. I had specifically gotten on the train car um, because I saw other women get on the train car, and I was
Fair.
like, "Oh, I'm going on that one," because it was like 11:30 midnight ish on a Friday. You never know who's going to be on the CTA. Good times.
Right.
Um, but I sat down, and this guy kept bothering me. He was hitting on me, and he wouldn't stop. And I wasn't dressed like not that it matters what I was dressed in, but I was like in my like puffer coat and my mask and my hat. Like I was sitting like looking around, um, made eye contact with this guy because I like to know who's on the train with me. I don't just get on and sit down and pretend that no one exists.
Same.
Um, but he said, I noticed you were looking at me, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, he wouldn't leave me alone. Kept asking me how old I was, kept trying to hit on me, where do you live, who are you? And these girls they noticed that he was bothering me, and I was telling him no, like trying to get away from him, and they stood up for me.
Amazing.
They looked at him and they were like, will you leave her alone? Like, stop messing with her. And they ended up staying with me on the train. He left me alone, and they stayed with me on the train for I think like 5 or 6 stops past theirs because they wanted to get off with me at the same point that I got off to make sure that I was safe.
Oh, I love that.
I was like, that is so incredibly kind.
Yes. See,
But
there are good people in the world. We just need to
there
focus on them.
are.
Yes.
And I feel like Chicagoans, like, they get a bad rep for people being like, oh, they're just as cold as it is in winter in the windy city. But I'll drop my gloves and someone will be like, you dropped your glove, here you go. Like,
Yes.
this guy is following you and being creepy. Let me stay on the train with you
That's
and
amazing.
ride to the end of the line. I'm like, you are just wonderful. That is wonderful.
Yes, we need more people like that in the world. All right, next
Yeah.
question. What was your first job?
Like, that I paid taxes on, or like my first job.
Um, let's just go first job, like just in general. I don't care if you paid taxes. That's not my business. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Oh, okay. So, shameless plug. First job, I was actually self-employed. I have
Nice.
a pet sitting business. Um,
What? Why am I
so
not hiring you when I go on vacation? I need to do this.
yeah, yeah, right. I have had a pet sitting business since I was 8 years old. So, my pet sitting business is 15 years old now, and it
Nice.
started with people in my neighborhood, and now I pet sit around the Chicago area
I
on
love
Rover.
that.
So
On
Hollynn
Rover,
on
people can
Rover,
find
yeah.
you on Rover. All right.
People can find me on Rover, and I think my Rover link is in my Instagram. So,
Okay, we're gonna
um,
plug your Instagram at the end, so you have to listen to the
absolutely.
end to hire Hollynn. All right, last question. This one's easy. We start and ending simple. Coffee or tea?
Oh, that's hard. Okay, I've been drinking coffee since I was too young, but
Same.
I think for all day purposes, I'm a tea gal.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been trying to switch over because I have a serious caffeine addiction.
Same.
Um, but with the different health benefits, and I like to start my day with a warm beverage and end my day with a warm
I
beverage,
love
and
that.
maybe have a couple in between. So right now I'm drinking my green tea, and
Nice.
later I'll probably have something different. I just love the variety.
Right now, I'm drinking a pistachio latte from Starbucks. Have you tried it?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God. So good.
So
So
good.
good.
I'm pretty like when I go to Starbucks, I get what I always get. I don't change very much because like I like what I like. And the barista's like, you have to try it. You have to try it. So I was like, fine. And I tried it, and it's amazing. This is not sponsored, by the way.
Not sponsored, but sponsor us,
Yeah,
Starbucks.
please
The
call us,
pistachio latte
Starbucks.
is great. I
Yes,
usually get it with whole milk because I still drink whole milk.
I love that.
I usually get it with whole milk and extra pistachio flavor because I love how, like,
Ooh,
it's just so delicious.
I haven't done extra pistachio flavor yet. That is gonna happen next time I go.
Hmm.
Yes.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so this sounds like a good place since we're talking about sponsor to hear from today's sponsor. Don't go anywhere. Holland and I will be back in just 1 minute. Today's sponsor is Meta and Shanti. Meta and Shanti is a wellness spa and boutique in West Michigan. They offer massage, skincare treatments, and yoga classes. They also have a boutique with fashionable clothing at affordable prices. If you're not in West Michigan, no problem. You can shop their boutique online at metaandshantiwellness.com. That's metaandshantiwellness.com. metaandshantiwellness.com. We're back. We're here with Hollynn, in case you're just joining us. Can you just join a podcast midway through? I don't know. If you are, if you're on YouTube and you skipped ahead because we were boring you, hopefully this part will be way more interesting. This part might get a little deep, just fair warning to everybody. I'm trying very hard to keep this podcast as light as we can, but also sometimes we are discussing some more difficult parts of being a member of the LGBT plus community. Just so, this is for Hollynn, just so I can adapt these questions accordingly, how do you currently identify within the LGBTQ plus community? What alphabet letter, I guess, best defines you?
I'm um I'm a lesbian. That
Nice.
is how I identify myself. I think that in the past of course I came out as bi. Um and I there is some attraction toward men. You know, I had my One Direction phase.
Right.
So I think that maybe bisexual, but definitely like I I would rather be with women. I'm
Fair.
more homo romantic.
I
So
love that.
lesbian is me.
Love that. I remember I went through that too because I came out when I was about 18 to my friends and not to my family till later. And I first said bi, and I think I was confused because I do find women attractive. Like I can look at a woman and be like, she is beautiful. But then I had to realize, but I'm not sexually attracted to women, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I was genuinely confused. Like I was just sorting through that, and at the time, I could look at a woman and be, she's very attractive. So I was still figuring that out, if that makes sense.
I grew up in a very heteronormative world, as we all did.
Yes.
But I grew up and I still had crushes on guys, and I've had sex with men and enjoyed it before. I'm not gonna say I didn't,
Right.
but definitely not as much as I have with women.
Fair.
So, like, I would. It just comes down to preference at the end of the day and how you want to
Yes.
identify yourself, I guess. Like, if I don't have sex with a man ever again, I will be okay.
So let's go back to when Hollynn was little. Tell us a
Sure.
little bit about your upbringing, where you grew up. Did you come from a religious family, a non-religious family? What did your parents do for a living? What activities were you involved in as a kid? Just give us a little bit of what it was like with you when you were growing up.
Yeah, sure. So, growing up, I grew up in Winsville, Missouri, so about 45 minutes west of St. Louis.
Nice.
Um, and I grew up in a very religious family. Not, no, it was a very religious family. Uh, we always went to church every Sunday. Like, I grew up Methodist starting,
Okay.
and then we went to a non-denominational church, and I say that with air quotes because
Fair.
they were affiliated with the Southern Baptist Church.
I feel
And
like,
then
disclaimer, most non-denominational churches are just Baptist churches that drop the name. Not all, but a
yes,
vast majority. Yes.
and
Okay,
it's
keep
like,
going.
why you gotta drop the name, you know?
Right.
But that's how
Just
it
tell
started
us who
out.
you are. We want to know when we're coming in the door.
Yeah, yeah. Then I went to a mega church. Then I went back to Methodist church. Then back to Southern Baptist church. Um, and then I got really deep um, into religion.
Mm-hmm.
It played a big part in my early life and into my teen years, where I was spending probably 20 to 30 hours a week on top of
Wow.
school at church or doing church things. So that's that we can maybe get into that later, but
Fair.
unless you want me to get into it now, like I didn't know that two women could be together until I watched it on Glee. Um,
I love that.
yeah, right. Nothing like Santana and Brittany being my first exposure to queer women. Um, there was that. I played soccer growing up.
Nice.
So real life the wolves for any any fun play fanatics out there. Yes, I have played the team captain and shaved my head, and I was reliving part of my childhood.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right.
You were living
Um,
your best life.
it was honestly the best show I've been a part of. Sidebar, love you guys.
Yes.
Yeah, I played soccer. I did a lot of outdoorsy things with my dad. So like, I don't want to say typical butch, but I was hunting and I was fishing and I was running through the woods barefoot.
I love
Um,
that.
yeah, just good times. I liked playing dragons with my friends. I read a lot. I still do. Um, and I was into reading and writing. Eventually got into theater. I rode horses. Actually, I
I
did
love that.
jumping for like horse jumping.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, hunter jumpers for like 5 years.
Yes.
And then I said I need to follow my dreams, and did acting more. So yeah, that's just kind of what I did growing up.
I love
Little
that.
activities. Yeah.
Good. Next question. When did you first realize you were a lesbian? Or just attracted to women in general? Like, when did you first kind of have that, oh, I might be attracted to women?
Ooh. So that's a great question. I think I had it and didn't know what it was when I was on the way to a field trip in fourth grade, and I was sitting in the back of the bus with my best friend at the time, and we were listening to her MP3 player.
Of course,
And
as one does.
she, yeah, right. We were going to the Magic House in St. Louis. Um, she played Rihanna's Disturbia, and
Oh,
I looked at the album art and was listening to it on this rainy day with this girl and was like, why do I feel like this?
nice. So it was
Um,
Rihanna. Rihanna
it
is
was
who made you a
Rihanna.
lesbian.
Rihanna made me gay.
I
And then
mean,
my
that's not a bad person to make you gay.
no, certainly not. So Rihanna made me gay, but I didn't know.
That's
And
going to be
then
the name of this episode, by the way. Okay, keep going.
I hope so. Please sponsor me, Rihanna. I love
Yes,
you.
please. Okay.
God, can't wait for her new music coming out.
Same.
My first kiss was accidentally with a girl. My friend had us both in a headlock and put us together, and we kissed, and then looked at each other. And my friend was like, "Did you guys just kiss?" And the other girl was like, "No." And me, knowing full well that we kissed, was like, "Yeah, no, we didn't kiss. You know, there was
Why would
nothing.
we do that?
Why would we ever kiss?" Like, and then I drove away in my like electric Barbie Jeep.
That's adorable. Oh my gosh. You were probably listening
um,
to Rihanna then too in your little Barbie Jeep.
yeah, right.
At
I
least
mean,
that's the way I'm
I would
envisioning
have.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Umbrella, Ella, eh.
like in my closet, like, um, but like real talk, I always knew I was different, right? I
Yeah.
always would go to sleepovers and be like in bed with like my besties, and not like in a weird way, but being like, why do I feel so comfortable,
Yeah.
right? Like, why do I feel like I? But also like with different girls, being like, why do I feel so uncomfortable? Why am I the weird gay girl? It's like not. I didn't have a word for it, but why am I the weird girl at this party?
Right.
And it wasn't just because I was a horse girl, you know.
Nothing wrong with being a horse girl, okay? Horse
Exactly.
woman. Yeah.
An equestrian, if you will. But
Yes.
I know, knowing that I was like, okay, I'm attracted to women. I was at a farmer's market with my parents.
Oh.
um, and I think I should have been 18, like 17, 18.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this short-haired girl with tattoos giving out free homemade salsa samples,
All right.
and I just felt things.
I love
I
that.
I had to go talk to this girl. I couldn't look her in the eyes.
Did you
like,
buy the salsa? I need to
I
know.
did.
See?
I
Okay.
did. I did buy the salsa with all of my pet sitting money.
Oh, I love
Um,
that.
and I couldn't stop looking at my friend selling salsa.
I love
So
that.
that is when I like for sure was like, okay, there.
You're like, I like women. Yes. I
Yeah,
love that.
maybe I draw them in art class all the time just because, I would always say, like, drawing women is art, like they're just so beautiful, but I'm straight.
You just
Yeah,
loved the female form so much to draw it. I mean,
yeah.
there could be validity in that. Not that everyone that draws a female form has to be a lesbian, but if it's only thing you're drawing, maybe look at it, right? Who was the first person that you came out to?
I officially came out as a lesbian to my friend Malachi. They are, as long as I've known them, they have been out as gay and very out and forward about being gay.
I
But
love
we
people like
were,
that are
yeah,
just
right?
can embrace it instantly. And I was like, why couldn't I have had that? Yes.
Yeah. Well, I met them in college, and we were sitting in the fall of 2019 outside on my back apartment porch. We had brunch every Sunday.
Oh, that's cute.
And yeah, it was a great tradition to have. But we made a pound of bacon, and we're
Of
sitting
course.
outside participating in marijuana usage and talking about just these lesbians that they know. And I started crying
Oh,
because I just kept thinking, I want that. And I like ate a piece of bacon and like sobbing through my bacon going, Malachi, I'm a lesbian. I am
oh,
gay. And and I had just come out as bi like earlier, but not really, you know. I was like,
right,
yeah, I'm bi, guys. But it wasn't like I know, like
right.
I did with this time. And Malachi looked at me and was like, yeah, babe, you are. I was like,
Don't
shut
you
up.
love when that's people's reaction? They're like, "Yeah, obviously." You're like, "Thanks." This was like this big build-up moment for me, and you're just like, "Mm-hmm, yep." Everybody else knew. You're like, "Thanks, appreciate
Yeah,
you."
and that's just kind of how Malachi is. They're like, yeah, we all knew. But
Yeah.
they were very supportive about it. They were like, because I had just ended a relationship with a man that I was with for
Hmm.
almost 3 years.
Wow.
So they were like, yeah, you're a lesbian. And I was like, I'm a lesbian. I was like, what do I do? Like, what do I do now? Like, I said it out loud. Now, what happens next? Like,
Right.
do the straight police, like,
They do. They come take your
getting,
badge away, and they replace it with
oh
the
my
gay
God.
badge. Yeah.
Yeah, I got my Home Depot card actually in the mail the other
I
day.
knew that.
Um,
Yes.
right? But I actually, I sent an email to my professor at school, who ended up directing the Wolves actually. But
Love that.
I, she has been in a relationship with a woman for many years, and they love each other very much. And I sent her an email with the subject line, "Oops, I think I'm gay."
That might have won the title of this. I don't know. It's a toss up between Britney and Rihanna. We have to figure this out. All
Right? But I said, "Oops, I think I'm gay," and she sent me her personal number. She responded back almost immediately. It was a weekend. And, she sent me her personal number, and we had a talk in her office. And I don't think I would have been halfway as okay with coming out, or even realized that I was out without like knowing other people who were gay suddenly.
right.
And seeing this role model in front of me who I respected and admired being in a relationship with a woman, and that was no issue with anyone.
I love that.
um i I needed that, and that pound of bacon come out
Bacon and
comfortably
marijuana, that will make anyone come out. Like you
on a
can't.
beautiful October day. Like,
Right.
what are you gonna do?
That's just asking. That's a recipe for coming out. I highly
Truly.
recommend that for everyone.
Highly.
Yeah.
Highly.
Next question is kind of a two-part question, okay? Are you out to your parents and how did they respond?
I am out to my parents. I'm out to my whole family.
Nice.
And I didn't get to come out to my parents
Uh-oh.
because my dad. I'd been talking to my mom one day, and I was really interested in this girl at the time, and she had asked me because I just broken up with this guy that I'd been with for a long time, like if I was seeing anyone, as moms do, they want to know.
Right.
But I was like, I'm really interested in this person, but I don't really want to talk about it right now. She was like, kind of like pushing, like, why, like, what's up? We've always had a really open relationship. I was like, I don't think that you would approve.
Oh.
It just kind of got serious, and then we moved on to something else. And then a couple days later, my dad calls me. It's like a Thursday night, and I'm chilling out with my roommates in the living room. My dad calls me, and the last words I expected to hear out of his mouth were, "Hey, you're gay, right?"
Oh my gosh.
I was like, okay, what? Like, I was like, yes. Um, he had told me, like, my mom talked to him about that conversation, and he was like, I've always, suspected. I've always wondered. I was like, this is a very interesting thing to hear from, like, someone who's very religious.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And he was like, yeah, like, your grandma and I have talked about this for years.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, yeah, your Mima has known for years. I was like, and no one said anything to me?
You couldn't have filled me in. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But I was like, wow, okay, like, and my grandma and I have a great relationship, so I was like, of course, Mima knew, like,
I love that.
but yeah, it was it was interesting. Because my family is very conservative religious. So
Yeah.
um, he was like, I think we're just upset that maybe we won't have grandchildren on like your side because I have a brother.
Hmm.
And he was like, I think that we're just upset about that, but as long as you are with someone who loves you and treats you well, that's all that I want. I
Oh
just want you to be
wow.
happy and with someone who loves you and treats you well.
That's wonderful.
Um,
That's actually an amazing response from parents. Like that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and I was very worried about it because they are some down home Texas folk. They moved to Texas in the middle of my sophomore year of college. So
Okay.
I was like, okay, and kind of in the years since then, they've still been very very supportive, but they have definitely made it clear that they think it is a sin for me to
Yeah.
be a lesbian and to be with a woman. Um, and I think that part of it is like they're very worried about my relationship with God,
Yeah.
which is a whole other conversation. But I think it's gotten worse since I came out as gay. um,
Same. Yes.
but yeah, just a lot of like worried about my sinning, if you
Yeah.
will.
Uh,
Um, and we all sin, but like yeah, I don't. We all sin. We lie. We cheat. We whatever. I don't feel that way personally. That's not my view. Um,
yes.
we've had a lot of conversations like that, which are not easy. To be like, you think that this is wrong, but I they obviously like not obviously because this doesn't happen to everyone, but
Right.
they're very supportive and loving toward me, not only me but toward my partner as well.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and like more than open arms loving to her. So I'm very, very grateful for that. My brother has actually come, I think, the longest way when it comes to acceptance.
That's
Um,
amazing.
we grew up, we're 18 months in age apart,
Okay.
and we grew up very similarly. And going to church, the mantra for our youth group essentially was garbage in, garbage out. So if
Yes.
you spend time with gay people or people who don't believe what the church believes, then you're putting garbage in your
Of
system
course. Yeah.
and you'll become garbage. That's
Listen,
literally what they would say.
I've heard this said. I know
Yeah.
that that is said. Yes.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy
Yes.
because I think Jesus spent a lot of time with with what we would call garbage people in that church.
Yes.
If it gives you any indication, after school, after high school, he went off and joined the Marine Corps, and I went to drama school.
Obviously,
So,
as one does, as one
as
does.
one does.
Yes. And
Um,
where did you go to school?
I went to Southeast Missouri State University,
Yes,
Cape
represent.
Girardeau. Yeah,
Yes.
2 hours south of St. Louis. They have a huge arts campus and a great theater program down there. So it was a beautiful place to be able to learn, but also still a very conservative place
Yeah.
um, to learn. So you have I learned a lot of great things there, and obviously had wonderful diverse role models while I was there, which was great. But yeah, there was a point in time where my brother told me that I was going to hell.
Right.
He
Yeah.
just straight up was he really likes a good what's the word, debate.
Of course.
But I think I take them more as arguments.
Fair.
And he told me I was going to hell, and my whole family, my both sets of grandparents, my parents all like shut him down about it. And he has since really softened and kind of adjusted to the fact that his sister is gay, and
Yeah.
he does still love her. So we've been repairing our relationship because I don't hate my brother.
Right.
I needed to create a lot of space.
Yeah, space is okay sometimes because
Yeah.
there's a family member of mine. that I'm not going to get into. But basically, I had to decide I needed space from them for a while. Not
Yeah.
saying I'm never talking to them again, because I don't think that's the solution for most situations either. I'm not going to say that's never warranted, because sometimes someone's just toxic enough that you have to cut them out of your life. But I realized with this person, I realized that they were never going to come around. It was a little different than your brother. This
Mm.
person was never going to come around, and I had to figure out what my boundaries were for our relationship going forward. And
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and basically I just decided I see this person at family functions and I'm civil with them and we get along and we're fine, but I don't incorporate them in my daily life.
Yeah.
And I actually unfriended them on Facebook, which seems so juvenile, but I just felt
No.
like if they couldn't, I felt like my personal, because I have like my public account and then I have a personal account, and I felt like that account is where I can share parts of my life. And if I'm
Yeah.
filtering what I'm saying just to make this one person happy, that's ridiculous. I was like,
Absolutely.
they don't need to be part of my inner circle. I'm not going to hate them. I'm not going to like go after them, but I'm going to be loving towards them when I see them, and they are actually for the most part very very civil with me. But I don't I had to figure out what my boundaries were with them. And like you said, I had to take a step back to figure that out. And when I kind of realized they were never going to come around, and there are people like that, unfortunately, just kind of reevaluating that relationship and what it's going to look like now that we kind of both see each other's true colors, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
and what that's
Yeah.
going to look like
Yeah,
and feel like.
my brother and I never we didn't we probably went a year
Hmm.
without speaking or even texting because I'm used to not seeing him. He was stationed in Okinawa for a couple of years and is now stationed on pretty much the opposite side of the country.
Okay.
But I was used to not seeing him, but we were always in a family group chat together. I knew it was really bad when he called me for my birthday last year and I didn't even have his number saved.
Wow. Yeah.
He, I had to ask and say who, he had texted me and said happy birthday, and I had to ask who is this.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy.
So
I'm sorry you had
it
to go
is
through that,
crazy.
but
I mean, it is what it is. I think that honestly, it made me really reevaluate things with what is family to me,
yeah.
and like who is family, what constitutes that, and also my brother and I have really tried to create a relationship now that works for us because I was like, this is a problem for me because he deleted his Facebook, which was a whole issue because he really loves debates. Um, and
Fair.
we've started to call each other every once in a while, and even
Good.
just having a 15-minute conversation, like five-minute conversation, even um, to just check in with each other. And he said on our first call, like, we may not always see eye to eye, but you're my sister, and I'm still gonna love you. I was like, this is like night and day difference
Yeah.
to what our relationship was like even like 6 months to a year ago. You know,
Yeah,
um,
I actually tell that to I teach voice lessons in a small town, and somehow every gay kid in town finds me. And some of them want to sing, and some of them are horrible singers and just need a gay role model. And as far as I know, in the town that I live in, I am the only out gay person that like everybody in
wow.
town knows that they're gay, and which is weird. But I just I came out of the closet and I was like, I know I'm moving to this small town, but I'm not putting one pinky toe back into the closet. People can deal or not deal. And for
Yeah,
the most part, everyone in town has been wonderful. I've had one or two odd remarks at the grocery store, oddly enough, but for the most part, everyone that doesn't like it pretty much just ignores me, and I kind of figure out who likes it. But anyways, so the like five or six gay kids at the high school have all ended up at my lessons at some point. And one thing that I always tell them when they're struggling is you didn't accept this about yourself overnight. Generally, we had years to process this,
yeah,
and And sometimes you have to give people you love time to process. It won't always take them years, but you can't expect them to instantly change something that they've been taught their whole life, right?
Yeah.
And I think if you show them that you're still the good person that you are, and if you show them that you're still this loving, kind, wonderful human, most people, not all unfortunately, but most people will come around and they will find some way of accepting you. Maybe not the way you always wanted them to accept you, but you have to give them that space to figure it out. And it's hard and it's frustrating, and I know it's really hard to like put yourself out there like that, and when you do, you want some sort of validation that they still love you and care about you, and unfortunately you don't always get that initially. But I always tell them like just give them time.
Yeah.
It's not fair to expect them to change their whole worldview in a 20-minute conversation, especially if they came from a religious background like my family did. They had never really known a gay person. They had never really
Mm.
talked to a gay person. Their only idea of it, mind you, I came out in the early 2000s. And so really our only exposure was on TV, like shows like Will and
Yeah.
Grace, which I wasn't even allowed to watch, true story. And it was such a different time that I feel like a lot of people weren't even out at work. So even though my mom worked with the public, I don't think she was really exposed to any gay people that were out and like open about it. My mom and sister have come around tremendously, and I'm glad that they took the time. And I appreciate that they both, well, I don't know if my sister did, but my mom read every book she could find, and she read Bible verses differently and looked into where the Bible verses originated. And the fact that she
Mm.
would take the time to do that just to see and to challenge her own beliefs and to challenge the things that she'd been told her whole life,
Mm.
that's
That's
amazing.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to allow people to have that space because like I said, sometimes I know in the moment it sucks because you're kind of like the victim of it, if that makes, or at least it feels that way in the moment.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean,
go ahead.
it even took me time to process. I was intensely religious when I was in high school, and I was in theater. I had friends who were gay.
Right,
But because I wouldn't say anything and my brother did, because my brother would debate about it, people wrote him off as a bigot.
right.
But I remember having conversations with friends that I was very close to and loved who were gay, and told them that it's wrong.
Right,
And I was 16,
right.
17. Like, I remember looking at them and saying, like, that is a sin, that's wrong.
That was all I had ever been taught. That was all that
Yeah.
I knew. Um, and I think, and I can't speak for everybody, but my dad was a Baptist minister, and I don't remember him ever getting up on Sunday morning and preaching all homosexuals are going to hell. I don't remember that being like a sermon that he ever preached, and I don't remember it being part of our daily conversation. Like I
Mm.
do think at some churches maybe it is, but that wasn't part of my experience. But I remember it being understood that it was a sin. In all honesty, I don't remember my dad ever preaching on it, to be honest. And maybe he did, but I don't remember it ever being a topic of something he would preach on. And I remember in high school when we had debate class was the first time that I was ever challenged on those beliefs because everyone in my
Mm.
bubble believed that and everyone that I knew believed that, and then to hear people suddenly talk differently, I remember that was like, and challenge me in my debate class, my teacher, because I would always use the Bible as my defense. He was like, okay, defend your opinion not using the Bible. And I couldn't.
Yeah.
Like, if you
Mm-hmm.
took that away from me, I couldn't defend that opinion at all, which made me question, okay, if I take these like four verses that we're holding on to like super tightly, that in my opinion now can be taken out of context or have could have been changed over the years. If I take those four or five verses away, I have nothing to defend this. And that was a big moment for me, even before I had like acknowledged that I was gay, but just to acknowledge if I take these few sentences away out of my life, I no longer can defend this. And that
Yeah.
was that was a big moment for me in my brain being like, wow, maybe maybe I need to listen to other people a little bit more.
Yeah, maybe
Um,
people from different backgrounds and different experiences have something reasonable and very
yes,
educated to say about a more nuanced and uh, complex world than we even have an understanding of.
right. But yeah, when you're young like that and your whole life, I didn't want to tell you this before, but my whole life, like yours, 30 hours a week was very common for me to be at church.
Yeah.
Especially in my later thing, my dad wasn't a pastor, but when I was younger, when my dad was a pastor, yeah, I mean, we were there on Sunday pretty much all day.
Yep.
We had three services on Sunday, and then we would have a service on Wednesday night, and we would have like the youth thing on Thursday night. And like, I remember my dad, one of the churches, he was also the youth pastor because it was a small church. So on Friday night, we would have the youth group, like, and I was
Yep.
at all of that. And we lived
Yeah.
next door. Like we lived in the parsonage, so we lived
There you go.
literally next door. Which I can tell you as a theater kid, to have access to sound equipment and a piano and a stage 24 hours a day,
Oh
it's
wow,
fantastic.
incredible.
I remember, true story, we were doing Aladdin because why wouldn't you do Aladdin in the church basement? And Aladdin was like the movie that just came out.
Mm.
And like this was not an official Aladdin production. Don't come for me, Disney. Me and my sister did it in the church basement, and we decided that we needed smoke, and so the only way we could find this was Comet, like the cleaner, and baby powder.
Oh
And
no.
I can tell you now from experience, when they mix, they make this really thick paste all over the whole floor. Um, and we pretty much wrecked the church basement putting out a production of Aladdin for our friends. But, you live and you learn.
Take it down. But like, I wonder for you how your experience was um, coming out as a member of a church who's like who you identified so strongly with, because I very similarly was went to church on Sunday morning and then would go to a leadership group for my youth group and Sunday afternoon, and then Sunday night I would have youth group. Wednesday I'd go back to youth group. On Tuesdays and Thursdays I would have meetings with girls I was mentoring. Like, these were all of my friends
Yes,
were church people. And then when I went to a pride parade as an ally in 2017,
I love
and
that.
they stopped talking to me. I was cut out almost completely. That was before I had even come out. I went to a pride parade. Like, people, apparently one of the youth pastors would ask my friends from church and be like, what happened with Hollynn? Why did she go to the pride parade? Like,
Crazy.
I went from being such like an integral part of the young women in the church to being ostracized, essentially. Like, I was they talk about the 99, right?
Yeah.
But I was the one that was like left out for the wolves. That was really isolating for me, and luckily I had such an open and accepting college environment that just kind of took me in immediately.
Yeah.
But I wonder how that was for you too, just your identity kind of like how it shifted after.
Yeah, my whole identity was in the church. I thought I was going to be a Christian singer, doing church music and touring, and like that was like the trajectory that I had for my life. Like my whole life, and even my work, and like what I wanted to do with my life was wrapped up in that. And that was a really hard blow. I had one friend that was not a church friend, and I
Mhm.
lost all of my friends. None of them. When I came out, I didn't keep one of those people in my life, and that was a really
Yeah.
hard time for me. And the first person that I came out to, oddly enough, was my one non-church friend, and it was because she was the only person that I knew that had gay friends, and so I
Yeah.
knew that she was a safe person to tell. And for I would say 2 or 3 years after that, she was really my only friend, and that was a very lonely place to be, to have one friend. Not that I'm not grateful for her because she helped me through a very dark period of time. But yeah, that was incredibly isolating. I needed to find a new group of people, and that was kind of when I found theater, and I got involved in that. I got involved in that later, more in college. I was a little bit involved in high school, but not really because I was really focused on like becoming a Christian pop star because that was important to me at the time. Then That's a whole nother, we can do a whole podcast on my Christian music career. That can be another conversation. But anyways, that was hard for me because my whole identity was wrapped up in that. And thankfully I found a theater group and I found great people that did accept me, but it was difficult. It was really isolating and I felt like I didn't really fit with anything because I felt like I was still figuring out who I was and still figuring out my new beliefs and my new
Yeah.
stances on things, and they didn't always line up with my new friends, and I didn't I think I felt like I always had to agree with my new friends because I was so afraid of losing them. It took me a while to find that balance. So,
It's difficult.
yeah,
It's difficult.
we're going to close out with the fabulous Hollynn, and I'm going to end with two questions for you. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm so ready.
Okay. What would you tell LGBTQ plus youth? Just in general, like if you had one message for them, what would that be?
Mm. I think what I always wished someone would have told me, which was prioritize your space
Yeah,
and your love for yourself and who you want to be.
I love that.
I I really needed that. I was spending so much time in service to others and trying to be what other people wanted me to be that I didn't settle with myself. Um, that I need time to be alone with my thoughts
Yeah,
because that's when I really started to understand and embrace myself more. And what a lifelong struggle, right? But
yeah.
I think that if I had slowed down just for a second, maybe I would have had a little bit more insight and been okay more with being by myself and with myself and being just me in public spaces.
I love that. That's good advice. All right, last question. Are you ready? What
Yeah.
are your dreams for the future? They can be personal dreams or dreams for the world or the country or whatever. Just
Mm.
what does Holland dream about for the future?
I dream about, oh God, I dream about um, long hikes and more sustainable energy. I dream about being excited when I wake up in the morning and continuing to find purpose and drive in my life.
I love that.
So, I've been in places where I haven't had that. So that's what I dream about. I dream about a time where it feels really effortless to be me in whatever space I'm in.
I love that.
So yeah, and be where I feel most myself. So on stage or in nature, what a
Yeah.
difference.
No,
But
those are two good places. I feel like those are two very vulnerable places where you have to be okay with yourself to like enjoy those spaces. If you're uneasy and you're hiking through the wilderness, you're still uneasy, right? You have to
yeah,
be able to find that peace. And I think those are two places where I find peace. I totally, they're very different worlds, but at the same time, they're both worlds where you have to like rest into yourself to enjoy those worlds. Okay, so where can people find you if they want to follow you, if they want to see some of your performances or work around the Chicago area? Where can people follow you?
yeah, sure. So you can follow my Instagram at Hollynn St.Clair, which is just a mess to spell for
Spell it
many of
for
the world's
us.
population. Okay, so the little at symbol, and then HOLLYNNSTCLAIR, Hollynn St.Clair.
I love that.
Um, you can tell I've spelled it a couple of times.
Thank you so much for being our guest this week. I've really
Oh,
enjoyed chatting with you. One thing that I've loved about doing this is even people that I know in my life, just to like get them to know them better and to learn new things about you. And I felt like I learned so much about you and your journey, and hopefully everyone else did as well. Speaking of that, if you would like to be a guest on the Dear Mom, I'm Gay podcast, email me. You can email me at deargaypodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word. That's deargaypodcast@gmail.com. And we would love for you to share your story. As you can tell from Hollynn, it's easy. We just chat and you tell me about your life. And I would love to meet people from every walk of life. Luckily, I've been really lucky to find amazing people so far, but we need more because we're trying to keep this a weekly thing. So if you'd like to share your story, reach out to us. And Hollynn and I are going to sign off. Say goodbye, Hollynn.
Goodbye.
Uh,
Thank you so much for having me, and
yes,
I just had the best time. What a great flowing conversation. So thank
yes,
you.
absolutely. Thank you. And we will see you next week, everybody. Bye.